Speedway in Groveton, New Hampshire. Scott Brimmelcombe with Gary Langevin alongside tonight. The American-Canadian Tour Partstown Late Model Sportsman International Series set to go here for 50 laps. A $5,000 purse being put on the line here by C.J. Robinson, the owner of Riverside Speedway. A fantastic looking facility, Gary.
It sure is, Scott. You know, newly paved, and the drivers are really happy with the new surface.
Very fast-looking racing surface. I was here about 3 or 4 years ago with a go-kart in competition. And a lot of potholes out there, and a very nice facility now. We're getting set for our first Partstown Late Model Sportsman heat race. Just to go over the point standings, Doug Hoare is the current point leader with 256. Brian Hoare is second with 245. And third is Dennis Demers with 240. Brent Dragon fourth with 233. And Steve Miller rounds out the top five with 211. 6 cars to qualify. First race. Qualifying heat, Late Model Sportsman International Series, the number 20 is Beaver Jardin, one of the Riverside competitors. The 02 from the GM Goodrich Tour, Kevin LePage. Third starting spot, the 57, is Wally Watson. The number 50 is George Stone. The 49 is Mark Lanphier. The 03, Clement Desperate Despo. The number 32 is Jean-Paul Cyr. The 33, Billy Mitchell. 77, Tom Tiller. 0, Brent Dragon. And out back, the 68, Jimmy Silly. Here they come, set for the green flag. And a little too quick on the start there, and they're going to give him one more time around.
Kevin LePage, of course, from the ACT series, and he should be a very tough competitor here with these local drivers.
Here they go. Once again, here they come. Green is out. We're underway. Kevin LePage in the 02 on the break on the outside. Battling back on the inside is Beaver Jardine. But now LePage moves to that lead spot all by himself. Tucks it down on the inside now. Beaver Jardine runs in the second spot now. Make it George Stone in the 50. Jardine back to third spot. 57, Wally Watson goes in the fourth spot. Mark Lanphier in the 49 goes fifth. Kevin LePage in the 02.
Watching a strong competitor here. It could be one to watch here, building up the pack right now in fourth position.
And Kevin LePage, that Precision Autogas Class Oldsmobile. LePage competing in this afternoon's race. Jean-Paul Cyr showing smoke as he went by. He's slowing down. Looks like he's going to present his car onto pit road. As Kevin LePage holds the lead in the 02. He's a 4-car length advantage over George Stone in the 50. And then it's about 10 car lengths back to Beaver Jardine.
LePage really dominating in this first year of action here at Riverside.
And a lot of look. Excuse me, Gary. I believe the 03 is dropping an engine. Lots of smoke. He's been black flagged. That's Danny Bridges, we understand, competing here in the Desperate Despo car. So Danny Bridges, a former Vermont champion, it was under its own power when it went by.
A tremendous amount of smoke came out of that car, and it looks like he will pull it into the pit area.
George Stone closes in on Kevin LePage. We got a yellow flag.
Under caution here at Riverside.
I believe there could be liquid on this facility as George Stone in the number 50 moved right in on Kevin LePage. LePage, I don't know if he slowed down or Stone is that much quicker. But all of a sudden, Kevin LePage had a mirror full of George Stone in the number 50.
Should make for a very interesting finish here when they go back under green with the 50 pulling up aside the 02 of Kevin LePage.
Well, there's 7 laps down in this 12-lap event. Dan Bridges went to the pit area. Jean-Paul Cyr looking all right now. We saw some smoke coming out of the 32. He's back at the rear of the pack, but now he looks fine. We'll have to see what happens with the 32 of Cyr. 57 being pulled out of line. That's Wally Watson. Now he goes behind the 49 of Mark Lanphier. They go back to the last completed restart on the or the last completed lap on the restart. And there you see on the speedway right now the Speedy Dry machine, a little Volkswagen Beetle out there, and that's a interesting looking Speedy Dry rig. Did you drive to the track in that?
No, I really didn't. In fact, the first time I see it out here, Scott.
Well, it's a rather unusual Speedy Dry rig. It goes back into the infield now. As Jim Silly looks like he wants to go to the pit area in that 68.
Silly apparently seeing some problems in the automobile earlier in the day.
So Silly back in the pit area. We're getting ready to go green. Light stays on the pace car.
Looks like they're going to cross them over here, Scott.
Okay, they'll have one lap to go. Next time by. Well, the light did not go down on the pace car. And a good crowd on hand here at Riverside this evening. Huge attendance, a lot of fans coming over from the Barry Montpelier area, from Thunder Road, to take in this great ACT International Series event this evening.
Well, you know, it's really great to see the ACT International Series and the Thunder Road drivers compete up here in Groveton.
Of course, Riverside coming under the ACT sanction this year, and that's been a lot of good things for the Riverside competitors, and we've seen a lot of the Partstown late model sportsmen and Napa Flying Tiger drivers from Thunder Road coming over here on a weekly basis. Johnny Clark coming over, especially in the Flying Tiger division. He's won here at Riverside. So nice to see the drivers supporting the track.
Well, they can only make the driving here in New Hampshire and in Vermont more competitive.
Pace car comes into the infield. We're set to go racing once again. Jim Silly did return from the garage area. Here they come through turn number 3. LePage setting the pace. LePage jumps out and they're going green.
And LePage gets a big drop on the lead here and takes over once again in the lead.
The number 50 at George Stone tucks in on LePage's back bumper. LePage your leader. Stone runs second. Running in the third spot is the 20 of Beaver Jardine.
Watson continues in the 4th position, followed by the car number 0 of Brett Dragon.
And the 33 of Billy Mitchell. He's been the hot setup here in the late model sportsman at Riverside Speedway. These drivers looking to qualify for tonight's Budweiser 50. Presented by White Mountain Distributors in Berlin, New Hampshire.
LePage down low of 50, looked to be going up high.
2-lap indicator that time by Gary. Now Stone looking down low once again. Couldn't find any room down there.
LePage again still in control. Dragon here battling for 4th position. Has 1 lap to go here on the speedway.
Stone got underneath LePage in turn number 2, but couldn't get by him. LePage came down. Here's Stone, makes the last attempt. Here they come. Your winner is LePage. Stone finishes second, followed by Beaver Jardine, Brent Dragon, and Billy Mitchell. So it was Kevin LePage, George Stone, Beaver Jardine, Brent Dragon, and Billy Mitchell in the 33, rounding out the top 5. So Kevin LePage from the GM Goodwrench Tour picks up the win here in the first qualifying heat for the Partstown Late Model Sportsman ACT International Series.
From start to finish, a great performance from Kevin LePage.
Round number 2 for the ACT International Series comes out. On the pole position, the 79 is Jim Mason. Outside of Mason, the 75 is Pete Fecto. Then at the 45, the winner at Senair, second in the point standings is Brian Horde. Third starting spot, the 00, the Airborne Speedway champion, Steve Miller. Number 3, Don Kennison, one of the Riverside drivers. The 29 is Brett Wheeler from Waterbury. The 46, Doug Hoare, the current point leader. Outside of Hoare, the number 35 is Dean Gallison. Then we go back to the final row. The number 81 is Dennis Demers, the winner of the first race of the season at Airborne. And number 1, Boss Hogg, Red Mead.
Lights are down on the pace car. Looks like 1 lap to go here to green.
10 cars set to go. It's going to be Jim Mason and Pete Fecto leading them down. Mason the rookie, Fecto the veteran. Row 2, Brian Hoare, Stevie Miller. Then it's Don Kennison, Brett Wheeler, Doug Hoare, Dean Gallison, Dennis Demers, Red Mead. Here they come looking for green. On the way. They take it into turn 1. Mason and Fecto go around right in front of the field. Nobody gets into him. Miller goes for the lead.
The two leaders, they're spinning right in turn number 2 here.
Green flag stays on the field. And Steve Miller, the 00, the big winner out of that one. Miller taking the lead. Brian Hoare in second. Brett Wheeler is third. Don Kennison is fourth. Doug Hoare fifth. Followed by Dean Gallison, Dennis Demers, and Red Mead.
Brian Hoare second here in the points lead in the International Series in second position. Of course, the first place points leader, Doug Hoare's father, in the car number 46.
Right now, the battle is for the third spot. As it's number 3, Don Kennison, and 29, Brett Wheeler. But now Doug Hoare comes under the knee, Wheeler. And also coming through is Dennis Demers.
Miller continues to dominate in the 00.
4 laps are complete. Coming up to complete lap number 5. Steve Miller holds the lead in the 00. Brian Hoare runs in the second spot. Doug Hoare goes for third on the inside of Don Kennison. And Doug Hoare moves to the second spot in the Dodge Aries. They're come down this time. They're halfway.
It's Miller leading. Brian Hoare in second. Doug Hoare in third. Followed by Kennison in the 3.
So Steve Miller now getting ready to put a lap on the pole sitter, Jim Mason, who got together with Pete Fecto on the start in turn number 2 and spun around. So Mason will end up going most likely to the B feature later on. As Steve Miller continues to hold the lead, the defending Airborne Raceway track champion. Brian Hoare, who tied for second last year in the ACT International Series points, runs in the second spot. Current International Series point leader, Doug Hoare, goes in the third position, followed by Don Kennison, Dennis Demers, and Dean Gallison.
Brian Hoare, of course, picking up that big win over at SBE Speedway with 2 laps to go now on the Speedway.
Jim Mason goes down into the infield as they got the 2-lap indicator as he went through turn number 2. Here they come. White flag is out. Stevie Miller 1 lap away from a victory. It's Miller taking the 00 down the backstretch. The County Tire Champlain Oil 00 of Steve Miller wins the race. Brian Hoare in the 45 is second. Doug Hoare is third, followed by Don Kennison and Dennis Demers. So Steve Miller in the 00 picks up the victory here in qualifying heat number 2 for the ACT International Series. Brian Hoare finished second. Doug Hoare was third, followed by Don Kennison, Dennis Demers, and Dean Gallison. So a good round for good qualifying round for Steve Miller, who was the big beneficiary of that spin right at the start.
That's right. Miller not getting connected into that spin and really just took over from there to pick up a heat win here at Riverside.
Well, after watching that that qualifier, it looked like the 2 guys to beat this evening so far are going to be the 00 of Steve Miller and the 45 of Brian Hoare, the Pontiac of Miller, the Dodge of Hoare, and they looked awful quick.
A couple of real strong cars out there this evening.
Miller returns the checkered flag to our flagman, and Miller will take it back to the garage area to make some final preparations for the semi-feature coming up later on this evening. And rolling out now is heat number 3 for the ACT International Series. On the pole, the number 76 is Steve Renadette. Outside of the front row, the number 2, Storman, Norman Andrews. Then it's the number 58 of Bert Gilbert and the 31 of Lance Furno. Row number 3. Row number 3 is the 14 of Phil Scott, and the 25 of Dave Whitcomb. The number 17 is Steve Patno, the 51, Dave Simpson. The 06, Andy Boatwright, and the 02, Randy Potter. And we understand that Wally Watson from the first qualifying heat did not pass the technical inspection, so he was disqualified.
That's right, just as you were giving the rundown on the house mic, they were saying that, and Watson disqualified in the first heat.
So we're getting set. The lights went down on the pace car. Next time around, we should be set to go. Two veterans up front, Steve Renadette from St. Albans, Norm Andrews from Warren. Set to lead them down for the green, followed by Bert Gilbert and Lance Furno. Furno hot off a win at Airborne Raceway in regular late model sportsman competition. Then it's Phil Scott and defending International Series champion Dave Whitcomb. Here they come, looking for green. We're racing. They take it into turn number one. Renadette comes back on the inside with the lead. Norm Andrews back to the second spot. Lance Furno moves to third. Dave Whitcomb making the move on the outside for fourth. It's Steve Renadette, and Andy Boatwright blows it up as he came by the start-finish line in the 06. Boatwright heads right to the garage area. Yellow flag is out. Boatwright went flying off from turn number 2 as he was trying to head towards the pits. He looked like he was going at full speed.
Lots of action here right in the third heat here today.
So yellow flag out on the speedway at this time for the Parkstown Late Model Sportsman attempting to qualify for the Budweiser 50, sponsored by White Mountain Distributors in Berlin, New Hampshire. We'd like to thank the great folks here at Riverside Speedway for being such gracious hosts. CJ Robinson, Dick Therian, Troy Germain, and the crew here at Riverside Speedway. Great time we've been having over here this afternoon and this evening.
Tremendous improvements here on the track since I was last year at Riverside Speedway, and the facility really looks great now, Scott.
Excellent looking facility. They've got a scoreboard here, which is always nice for the fans. Very professionally run operation that they have here at the Riverside Speedway. Well, Steve Renadette will be your leader. In second will be Norm Andrews. Third will be the 31 of Lance Furno. Moving up to fourth will be the 58 of Bert Gilbert. Defending International Series champion Dave Whitcomb will go in the fifth spot as they get the 1 lap to go indicator from the flagman as they took care of the Andy Boatwright situation. Pace car pulling into the infield. They bring him down the backstretch.
And they'll go green this time around here, Scott.
6 cars to qualify. We're underway.
And Andrews takes the lead going into the turn.
Well, this is what Norman wanted. It was another chance at Steve Renadette on the start. Andrews staying right with him on the outside. Renadette on the inside. It's Renadette by half a car length as they came by that time. Now Renadette.
Furno challenging in the 31 here. For second position.
Lance Furno comes through to take the second spot. I think Norm Andrews would like to get down on the inside, as right now it looks to be the inside is the hot setup. Now Dave Whitcomb challenges Norman on the inside. It's Whitcomb down low. Andrews up high. Andrews holds the spot. It looked like they bumped in turn number 1.
Whitcomb in the 25 takes over the third position here.
5 laps will be complete, this time by 7 laps to go. It's Steve Renadette from St. Albans leading it. Lance Furno runs in the second spot. Renadette currently 10th in the points. He finished 15th at Airborne this year, 6th at Senair, and 12th at Beach Ridge. He finished 10th in last year's points, hoping to improve on that and looking for a victory here in the third qualifying heat.
Furno in the second position. Lance Furno in the 31 is currently 16th in the points. He had a 11th finish at Beach Ridge and a 15th finish at Senair. So he's had some hard luck in the season, but he's having a good performance out here today.
And Furno coming off a victory at Airborne Raceway. One he won sort of by default as the winner was disqualified. Furno moving up to the number 1 spot. And so Furno getting the victory, but victory is a victory. Furno holds on to the 2nd spot, trying to close in on Steve Renadette. This time by 2-lap indicator will come up from our flagman. Here's the 2-lap to go indicator. Dave Whitcomb runs in the 3rd spot. Phil Scott is 4th. 5th is Norm Andrews. Randy Potter runs on the bubble in 6th. Final qualifying position. White flag that time by. Single file. Norm Andrews looks to the outside of Phil Scott. Top 4 cars make it to the semi-feature. Andrews goes for the 4th spot. Here they come. Your winner is Steve Renadette. 2nd is Lance Furno, followed by Dave Whitcomb, Phil Scott, Norm Andrews, and Randy Potter. So Steve Renadette in the number 76 picks up the victory. It was Lance Furno in 2nd, Dave Whitcomb in 3rd, Phil Scott, the final car to transfer to the semi-feature. Norm Andrews followed in 5th, and the final qualifier was Randy Potter. Welcome back to Riverside Speedway. We're set to go with Hartstown Late Model Sportsman ACT International Series semi-feature. Your pole sitter, the number 31, is Lance Furno. Outside of Furno, the 25 of Dave Whitcomb. Row number 2, the 76 of Steve Renadette, the 14 of Phil Scott. 3rd row, the 00, that's Steve Miller. The 0 is Brent Dragon. The father and son team in row number 4 on the inside of the son. Brian Hoare, number 45, outside the father. The 46 of Doug Hoare. Then it's the 02 of Kevin LePage. The number 50 of George Stone. The number 20 is Beaver Jardine. And the number 3 is Donald Kennison. That's your qualifiers for today's semi-feature, and we're gonna. This will be a good one to maybe figure out who's going to be the hot setup for the main event.
Some of the best drivers in the National Series are out there right now, Scott.
The top 12 drivers in tonight's main event for the Budweiser 50 set to do battle. Furno and Whitcomb. They'll bring it down. Furno looking for his first victory in the International Series this evening. Here they come. Green flag is out. Furno on the inside, Whitcomb on the outside for the lead. Renadette and Scott run in the next row. Then it's Miller and Dragon. Brian Hoare and Doug Hoare, they keep them side by side. Whitcomb gets way outside. Furno will get the jump on the lead, and he leads it by a car and a half. It's Lance Furno down the backstretch. Dave Whitcomb runs in 2nd. Steve Renadette looks to the inside of Whitcomb. It's Renadette down low. Whitcomb holds the spot. Phil Scott makes up 3 wide. He's going to be the meat in the sandwich, and he backs out of it. That was close.
That was really close there. Renadette, 25 of Whitcomb battling in there. Whitcomb takes over the 2nd position. Now Renadette again, and Scott coming up for 3rd position.
Phil Scott takes that 3rd spot from Dave Whitcomb. Whitcomb battling back on the outside. About 10 car lengths ahead right now is Lance Furno in the number 31. He's been the beneficiary of these guys racing. Now Phil Scott looks for the 2nd position from Steve Renadette. Steve Miller has moved to 4th. Dave Whitcomb on the outside in the 5th spot, but Brian Hoare down low. Brent Dragon and I think Doug Hoare got together momentarily down in the 1st and 2nd turn. Doug Hoare has problems. He's showing sparks on the 46, and that was where the problem occurred. He's taking it to the top of the 4th turn. And the yellow flag will come out for Doug Hoare.
So the series point leader here has some bad luck here in the semi-feature for the ACT International
As he drives by, trying to check out what may have been the problem, didn't see anything as like a flat tire or anything. So he takes it to the garage area as he'll try to get it repaired and get back out here. They do give him a courtesy lap. So we'll see if Doug Hoare has time to get out here.
three cars to watch. The 76 of Renedette, the 00 of Miller, and the 02 of LePage. All have won heat victories out here tonight.
Kevin LePage currently runs in the 8th spot. Steve Renedette is 3rd, and Steve Miller is 4th. Now they'll double them up. We still don't see Doug Hoare coming out yet. So they'll give him one more courtesy lap. We're going to be ready to go racing once again. Pace car comes around, and we should see the lights go down this time by on the pace car. As it's Lance Furno and Phil Scott. And Phil Scott shown some pretty good things out of that Ford Thunderbird here in the semi-feature.
Scott has been real aggressive with the 14, going into places he probably shouldn't have been in, trying to gain position. He's now up here in 2nd position.
All right, he's really got that Powers DuBois Subway number 14 Thunderbird on rails, but we'll have to see, does he have enough for the 31 Pump and Pantry Pouliot and Corview Chevrolet of Lance Furno. Here we go, we're back to racing. And it's Furno on the inside. Scott hangs right with him on the outside. Furno by half a car, make it a full car length for Lance Furno in the General Motors. Now the Ford of Scott looks to the outside once again. And it's still Lance Furno. Furno seems to have the power on this facility, as he's able to get about a 2.5 car length advantage over Phil Scott. We're halfway down in this event.
As the 00 and the 45 of Hoare battle for the 4th position, Brian Hoare in the 45 takes it over.
Brian Hoare takes the 4th spot. Looking to gain some points on his father. He was only 11 points out of it coming into tonight's event here at Riverside Speedway. Now Phil Scott is closed back up on Furno, looking to make the challenge.
5 laps to go on the Speedway.
So 5 laps to go. Can Phil Scott make it by the number 31 of Furno? Furno left the door open a little bit as he came out of turn number 4, but he was able to shut it back down before Scott was able to take the shot. Renedette runs in 3rd. Brian Hoare looks to the outside of Renedette. Going in the 4th spot is Brent Dragon.
Furno and Scott really breaking away from the pack here, commanding lead on the field.
The 2-lap indicator will come up. And Scott looked down low on Furno once again, but Furno able to maintain the lead. Lance Furno, the Pump and Pantry, number 31, holding the lead over Phil Scott in the Powers DuBois Construction Subway, number 14. They get the white flag that time by. Brian Hoare now takes the 3rd position. Coming back on the inside, though, is Steve Renedette for 3rd. Here they come for checkered flag. It's Lance Furno, followed by Phil Scott, Brian Hoare, Steve Renedette, Brent Dragon, and Steve Miller was the big loser in all this. He went sliding off of turn number 4 as they came down for the checkered flag. So the winner in the number 31 from Williamstown, Vermont, the Pump and Pantry, Pouliot and Corview, Arlington Wood Products, number 31 was Lance Furno. And Furno showing some pretty strong car out there tonight.
Furno holding off a lot of strong cars to get that win, so a great car seems to be in Lance Furno under the hood there in the 31.
Well, now we're getting set to bring out the B feature for the Partstown Late Model Sportsman Division, as Lance Furno is going to bring back the checkered flag, and Furno will get to go from the pole position this evening in the Budweiser 50 here at Riverside, and that could be a huge advantage for Furno.
Furno with some good performances here, and it looks like he'll have a good showing out in the Budweiser 50 this evening.
Now here's the B feature as they start to roll him off of pit road. The pole sitter is going to be the number 77, Tom Tiller. 6 cars to qualify, by the way. The number 1 outside of the front row is Boss Hog Red Mead. Then we go to the number 17 of Steve Patnode, and the 32 is Jean-Paul Cyr. The 29 is Brett Wheeler. The 58 is Bert Gilbert. The 49 will be Mark Lanphier. Excuse me, this is the consolation round, not the B feature. We're used to seeing no consolation rounds in International Series competition. So this is the consolation round. And I've lost my complete train of thought now. I think I was with the 49 of Mark Lanphier. And then we had the number 03, that's Danny Bridges this evening. The 51 is Dave Simpson. Pat Corbett in the number 5 didn't make it out for his qualifying heat. He's out there. The 57 of Wally Watson, who was disqualified after his qualifying heat. And the 79 of Jim Mason. We saw him and Fecto spin right at the beginning of the qualifying heat they were in. Okay, here we go. 77 and 1, 17 and 32, 29 and 58. Then it's 49 and 75, 51 and 03, 57 and 5, and then out back is 79. I may have read the lineup wrong. Green flag comes out. It's Tom Tiller down on the inside, Red Mead on the outside. Tiller takes the lead. Coming through for second is Steve Patnode. Red Mead on the outside, trying to hold the second spot. He's now third. Jean-Paul Cyr now moves in on Mead for third. Mead is back to fourth. Dave Simpson goes through the infield, and he stops it down at the bottom of turn number 1. He wants that caution flag to come out. And yes, the caution flag will come out.
Caution flies here at Riverside Speedway.
Well, what they have at the bottom of the turns here at Riverside Speedway is a curb. And Simpson may have thought better of trying to drive over that curbing with the number 51.
Oh, that could be.
So Simpson trying to get the Cody Chevrolet number 51 out of the infield. I think he's looking for a break in that curb. So it's Tom Tiller, your leader. The 17 is Steve Patnode. He's one of the Riverside regulars. The 32 is Jean-Paul Cyr. The 1, Red Mead. The 58, another Riverside regular, Bert Gilbert. And Mead will move up to the 3rd spot.
Car number 5, Pat Corbett, winner of the previous International Series.
And Tiller is the leader.
Speedway in Scarborough Lane just a couple of weeks ago. Corbett near the back of the pack.
Tiller holding the lead with 17. Steve Patnode, who'll line up on the outside as they cross him over. Red Mead, Jean-Paul Cyr. Then it's Bert Gilbert and Brett Wheeler, Mark Lanphier and Pete Fecto, Danny Bridges and Pat Corbett, Wally Watson, Jim Mason, and then 51, Dave Simpson.
So we have some strong drivers in the back of the pack and up in front. It should be a real interesting race here.
Wow, it's a tough one to qualify for. They only take 6 out of this, then the rest of them will go to the B feature, which I thought this was. Usually when we have international races, it's they'll give us a heat races, then a semi-feature, and then the main event. And because of the large number of cars, they wanted to give them a consolation round as well this evening here at Riverside, and rightfully so.
Yeah, 32 cars started today, to be exact, and that just proves there's a lot of competition out here in the AC International Series.
And you see, and Pat Corbett's way at the back of the pack. He's currently 14th in the points, and he won the last race at Beach Ridge. So Corbett has some ground to make up. He's in the 10th spot right now. Green flag is out. Tiller takes the lead from the pole position. Battling back on the outside is Steve Patnode. Patnode gets it sideways down the back stretch. Red Mead comes through on the inside for the 2nd spot. Tiller holding the lead in the 77. Red Mead goes 2nd in the 1. 3rd spot, the 17 of Steve Patnode. 4th position is the 58 of Bert Gilbert, followed by the 32 of Jean-Paul Cyr. It's Tom Tiller, your leader.
Red Mead continues to hold off in second position, much like he did over at Beach Ridge with a second place
had
finish.
a great run at Beach Ridge in the number 1 GWP Construction Ford.
And the 32 challenges for the third position here with its car number 17.
As Jean-Paul Cyr in the 32, and Steve Patnode in the 17. It's Patnode currently in third, Cyr in fourth. Cyr on the outside, tries to get that third spot. And he moves to the third spot. Final spot in the qualifiers is the 03 of Danny Bridges. Cyr now goes for the second position, Gary.
Cyr and red lead battling for second position.
Yellow flag, and we have an incident out of turn 4. Does Tiller see it in time? The field is coming down. Cyr has to get on the binders real quick.
Car number 29 and the 58 car were caught up there in the fourth turn, and car leaking now. The 58 has something leaking onto the speedway.
58, Bert Gilbert. 29, Brett Wheeler. And it looked, I didn't know if the leaders saw the yellow lights on around the speedway or not, as they were coming through at a pretty good clip.
Close call for Tom Tiller in the 77.
And now they got to bring the speedy dry machine out to take care of the fluid that is leaked onto the speedway, just out of turn number 4. Now going into this race, the driver with the best finish in the International Series is Dennis Demers with a average finish of 3.7. And currently second, it's a tie between Brian and Doug Hoare with a 4.7. It was kind of interesting.
Brian and Doug Hoare really run very close both in the points race and here in the average finish. And very interesting father and son race team.
Yeah, they sure are. And had a chance to talk to Brian in our last event we did up at Beach Ridge Motor Speedway. And Brian, just a real nice guy. And I think he's got a good future in racing if that's what he chooses. Field told to cross it over.
And it could be interesting, this series there looks to be like a series that a lot of these racers will race in hopes of getting a ride in the ACT series.
Wow, that could be, as Brian Hoare told us at Beach Ridge, if he ever had a chance, he'd love to try a GM Goodwrench Tour car. And we wish him the best of luck. Of course, Dennis Demers qualified for the True Value 250 at Oxford and had a fine 16th place finish in the number 86. And they're going to move the field down on the track to get them to run through that speedy dry. They're bringing some more speedy dry out because there's still more fluid out there. So we do have a slight delay here with 7 laps complete in this consolation round.
Looking back in the field, the car number 57, another driver from up in my area, Wally Watson, who has always had some strong finishes up here at Riverside Speedway.
Wally Watson had a good run there in that first qualifier, and not passing the tech inspection that they go through, the mandatory tech inspection after each event. So Watson ended up having to come out here. You see the field of cars, there's the flagman, he's giving them the one more lap indicator. And they're going to be ready to race shortly, we hope. There's the field of cars as they come down the front stretch, and you can see them driving through that speedy dry.
Looks like we have 1 to go here till green. Lights still on the pace car.
So Tiller holds the pole, holds the lead with Jean-Paul Cyr in the second spot. Redmead in third. 17 is Steve Patnode in fourth. Then it's the 49 of Mark Landfield, the 03 of Danny Bridges. And this is a big break for Pat Corbett in the number 5, who is 8th on the grid right now, and only they take only the top 6.
Top 6 qualified. Corbett now 8th, and if he doesn't improve in the next few laps here, he will not qualify to the feature.
And he'll have to go to that B feature, so if he makes it through that, that's the hard way into a main event.
Well, it's sure racing a lot more than you need to.
For sure. Well, they're going to run them through the speedy dry one more time, I believe. They want to make sure this track is in completely great racing condition before they turn these drivers loose. 7 laps complete. Consolation round. ACT International Series. And the lights will go down on the pace car this time by. We're going to go racing when we come down for the start-finish line once again. Tiller and Sear, Meade and Patnode, Lanphier and Bridges, Watson and Corbett.
Red Meade could be the car to watch here when we go green.
He sure could with the number 1 Ford. Here they come. Sear gets the jump off the restart. Tiller comes back on the inside. Jean-Paul Sear had a big jump off that restart. And he holds the lead. Tiller comes back on the inside. Great battle for the lead in the consolation round. Tom Tiller down low. Jean-Paul Sear up high. Tiller with the lead by about half a car length. It's Tiller, your leader. Jean-Paul Sear in second in the Real Team World number 32. Red Meade goes in the 3rd spot. 4th spot is Steve Patnode. 49, Mark Lanphier is 5th in the 03, and Danny Bridges runs in 6th. Lanphier taps Meade in the back bumper. 2 laps to go now. The 58 of Bert Gilbert gets the black flag. White flag flies this time by for Tom Tiller.
If Sear is ever going to catch Tiller, it's going to be right now. As 1 to go for Tiller.
Tiller takes it through turn 3 into turn 4. Here they come. The winner is Tom Tiller. Jean-Paul Sear is 2nd. Number 1 Red Meade is 3rd. And it's the 17 of Steve Patnode, the 49 of Mark Lanphier, and the 03 of Danny Bridges that qualify. So the 77 of Tom Tiller. Tiller's Automotive. Automotive, Healers RV, Morse Lumber, Oldsmobile Cutlass takes the victory here in the consolation round for the ACT International Series. It's a typical small, historic northern New England town with a covered bridge and many centuries-old buildings. And like many towns in the northern part of New Hampshire, Groveton's lifeblood is the paper industry. But on the weekends, work is not on the minds of the residents of the Groveton area. During the summer, many of the same people that work in this mill during the week enjoy spending their Saturday nights at the quarter-mile Riverside Speedway watching championship stock car racing. Good evening, I'm Scott Ribblecombe, and welcome to the Riverside Speedway in Groveton, New Hampshire. Tonight, Adelphia Cable, in association with SBE Sports, presents exclusive coverage of round number 4 in the American Canadian Tour International Series for the Parts Down Late Model Sportsman. The 1993 ACT International Series has been the most competitive in history, with 3 different winners in the first 3 events. The first race of the series was held at Plattsburgh, New York's Airborne International Raceway. Dodge driver Doug Hoare of Colchester, Vermont, looked to be headed for victory in the 50-lap event, but a late race caution allowed Shelburne, Vermont's Dennis Demers one last chance at the lead. Demers was able to take the lead on the restart and held off Hoare to win the first round of the 1993 International Series. The second race in the International Series saw the stars of the Partsdale Late Model Sportsman head north of the border to the 1.33-kilometer St. Air Superspeedway in St. Pete, Quebec. After a convincing win in the semi-feature, young Brian Hoare of Colchester, Vermont, dominated the 25-lap main event for his first International Series victory of 1993. The last time the International Series was in competition, 18 teams traveled to the coast of Maine for a 30-lap event at the Beach Ridge Motor Speedway. Hot off a win at Barrie, Vermont's Thunder Road International Speedball 2 nights before, Williamstown, Vermont's Pat Corbett continued his winning ways and became the third winner in as many races on the International Series. Tonight, will it be a fourth race in Victory Lane, or will Demers, Brian Hoare, and Pat Corbett become the first three-peat winner of 1993? Many of the competitors in the Bardstown Late Model Sportsman Series from Thunder Road that will have been competing here on a regular basis. This could be an advantage to these competitors this evening in the International Series. Joining me now is Gary Langevin, who will be my co-host for tonight's race. Hey Gary, you've had a chance to talk to some of the drivers. They've resurfaced this racetrack. What do they think of the new surface?
Well, the majority of the drivers that we spoke with all thought the surface was very, very good, and it really improved their performance out here. Many coming here for the first time today in testing.
It's a lot faster of a surface as well.
That is true. The new track surface makes the tires and everything else work a lot better with these drivers, so they don't have to fight the potholes, as Jim Silly alluded to earlier.
Well, you had a chance to talk to Jim Silly a little earlier. Let's go to that interview with Jim Silly.
Well, this new surface, you know, is nothing like it here. You know, I mean, when we were here 5 or 6 years ago, it was rough. You know, I mean, you raced for the potholes, and that's the only way you got by them. If somebody drove into one, got a little squirrely, you know. So it's one of those deals. You know, I mean, this surface here is really nice.
All right, now in the international series here this evening, you'll be competing with both the local Riverside drivers and the ACT regulars. What do you think?
Well, you know, it's hard to say. You know, I think this international has a lot to do with the draw. If you get the draw here, you know, you're going to do really good. You're starting the back. It's a pretty tight track. You know, and it is just going to be a process of elimination here. You know, it's real tight here. It's a lot tighter than Thunder Road.
All right, you've raced here during the season. How have you done here?
Well, last week we almost had the win, but last 400 feet we didn't get there in time. And you know, car runs really good up here. You know, it's on a hot day like today, it won't run too good in the afternoon. But when the weather cools down, it should improve quite a bit.
All right, and how have you done in the late model series here overall this season?
Well, we've had a rough year. You know, the international series we've done all right, but Thunder Road, we've had a real rough year. We started pretty good over here, so we're going to keep trying over here, you know, and just come over for a good time, and we ain't racing for points or anything.
Well, the drivers in the ACT International Series are finishing up with their final practice session. We'll be back with our first event of the night on Adelphia Cable.
Pushing it to the limit. Professional drivers demand performance for themselves, the track, and from their cars. That's why so many pros use Gabriel gas shocks, precision engineered to get a better grip on the road. Your local Bardstown store wants you to come in and pick up a set of high-performance Gabriel gas rider shocks for your car. Gabriel shocks reduce bottoming to help improve your car's handling and responsiveness. Whatever the road hands out, you don't have to worry when you're running Gabriels. Bardstown, 13 convenient locations for you and your car.
It's now time for our Bardstown Late Model Sportsman starting lineup for the Budweiser 50. The pole sitter, the number 31 from Williamstown, Vermont, and that is Lance Furno. Outside of Furno, on the front row, the number 14 from Morrisville, Vermont, is Phil Scott. Third starting position. Row number 2, the number 45, the winner of the Santa Ana race, is Brian Hoare from Colchester, Vermont. Outside of Brian Hoare, in the number 76 from St. Albans, Vermont, is Steve Renadette. Inside, row number 3, the number 0 from Milton, Vermont, a former International Series champion, and Brent Dragon. Outside of Dragon, the number 3 is Don Kennison Jr., a Riverside Speedway driver. He's from Groveton, New Hampshire. Inside, row number 4, the number 50 is George Stone from Whitefield, New Hampshire. Outside of Stone, the number 02 from Shelburne, Vermont, from the GM Goodwrench Tour, is Kevin LePage. Inside, row number 5, the defending International Series champion, the number 25 of Dave Whitcomb. Outside of Whitcomb, in the 10th starting position, the number 20 from Lyndonville, Vermont, Beaver Jardine. Inside, row number 6, the 00 from New Haven, Vermont, is Steve Miller. Outside Miller, the current point leader in the International Series, the number 46 from Colchester, Vermont, and Doug Hoare. Inside of Doug Hoare in the number 33 from Lyndonville, Vermont, is Billy Mitchell. Row number, outside of Mitchell, the 14th starting spot, the number 81 from Shelburne, Vermont, is Dennis Demers. Inside, row number 8. In car number 2 from Littleton, New Hampshire, is Russ Clark. Outside of Clark, the number 68 from Groveton, Vermont, is Jim Silly. Row number 9, inside, the number 35 from Montpelier, Vermont, is Dean Gallison. Outside of Gallison, the number 02 New Hampshire from Groveton, New Hampshire, is Randy Potter. Starting 19th on the grid, the winner of the Consolation round from Essex Junction, Vermont, is Tom Tiller. Outside of Tiller, in the number 32 from Milton, Vermont, is John Paul Sear. Inside, row number 11 from Hyde Park, Vermont, is Red Mead. Outside of Mead, in the number 17 from Pittsburgh, New Hampshire, Steve Patnode. Final row on the field, starting 23rd, the number 49 from Morrisville, Vermont, is Mark Lanphier. And starting outside of Lanphier, the number 57 from Newport, Vermont, the promoter's option here at Riverside Speedway, and Wally Watson. One driver not making tonight's field, Gary Langevin, was the winner of the last International Series event, Pat Corbett.
You know, we were both in Beach Ridge Speedway, and Pat Corbett had a tremendous performance coming out in first place, and you know, tonight he didn't make the field and he's not in the competition.
Well, earlier today you had a chance to talk to Pat Corbett about that run up at Beach Ridge Motor Speedway. So why don't we, before the start of this event, let's go to the interview with Pat Corbett.
All right, and how do you feel you'll do here today at Riverside Speedway, competing not only with the ACT drivers on a regular series and also the late model drivers that run here every week?
Well, I don't know. The car's not quite there right now. We got better. First practice we were a little off. Got a little better than the last one there. We'll try one more time and see. It's probably competitive. I don't know if I can pull off another win or not.
All right, and how's the season been thus far?
It's had its up and downs, I guess. I've won at Thunder Road and I've been second at Thunder Road. I won at Beach Ridge, but the rest of the time it's been tough.
A number of the series drivers have tested their cars here at Riverside. Have you brought the car up?
No, it's the first time I've been here. I figured I went the first time to Beach Ridge. I might just well try it here.
All right, they put a new asphalt on the track this season. How's it been out there testing?
The track feels beautiful. It's got a little bit of gray in the bottom of turn 1 and 2 there. It feels a little slippery right in the middle there, but I think it's just mud that's gotten on there from last night or something. And it's a little greasy at the bottom there, but the rest of the track's just beautiful, nice and smooth. It's fun to drive on.
Well, they started their engines, Gary. The competitors in the Budweiser International Series 50-lap main event for the Partstown Late Model Sportsman making their way around the Speedway. 24 cars scheduled to go on tonight's grid.
That's right, Scott. Take a look at the crowd here. Best appearing car today, the 00 of Steve Miller.
That being sponsored by Castle Chemicals. There you see the fans, all in anticipation of tonight's big 50-lap main event. There you see one of our camera people. Camera crew and the whole production crew doing a great job this evening. I'd like to commend them on doing a fine job, as always, when they're out there doing the production.
Great driving, great production here tonight.
That's right. Lance Furno and Phil Scott lining up on the front row. Both these cars look pretty stout in the semi-feature. And Brian Hoare in there. We got 3 makes of cars right in the first 3, Gary. We got a General Motors, we've got a Ford, and we got a Chrysler product.
So that should be very interesting, and the manufacturer's points is led by an Oldsmobile right now.
Oldsmobile with 2 victories.
And a total of 57 points.
So we'll have to see how that comes out at the end of the night. Whether Oldsmobile can maintain their lead or if Dodge can move back in and Chevrolet runs in 3rd. They're showing one more lap. We're going to go racing. Budweiser's International 50 here at Riverside Speedway, coming to you exclusively tonight on Adelphia Cable Channel 15 in association with SBE Sports. Pace car has come into the infield. We're ready to go racing. They look to turn them loose.
Battling here. Lance Furno takes the lead here, looking to complete lap number 1 in the Parchtown Budweiser 50.
Lance Furno in the 31-year leader. Dropping back into the second position, about 2 car lengths away from Furno is Phil Scott. Third position goes to Brian Hoare in the 45. Fourth position is Lucero and Brent Craig, and then fifth is Steve Renadette. But also getting in there is the 50 of George Stone. Stone will take the 5th spot. Him and Renadette made contact. And Stone able to come through for position number 5. As you see him come to turn 4. The 0-3 of Danny Bridges.
And smoke coming from the 0-3.
He had problems in the qualifying heat, and it looks like the 0-3 of Danny Bridges, the former Clint Despo, well, it is the Clint Despo car, takes it to the garage area. Lance Furno continues to lead in the number 31 as they come down to complete 5 laps. Phil Scott runs in the 2nd spot. Brian Hoare goes 3rd. Brent Dragon is 4th, and George Stone is 5th. Lance Furno in the Pump and Pantry, Arlington Wood Products, Pouillat and Corview, number 31. Holding the lead over the Powers, Du Bois Construction, Subway, Restaurants. We've got yellow, a big accident on the front straightaway.
And Tom Tiller gets collected along with Sear and the 57 of Wally Watson.
Also in there with Storm and Norman Andrews. Here comes the leader, Phil Scott loops it in turn number 4. Leaders didn't see the yellow light on.
A close call for the 31 of Lance Furno.
So we'll go to yellow condition now.
And Phil Scott looks to be collected there in the 14.
So Phil Scott, he got it sideways and spun it around as they came into out of 4, and he saw the yellow flag. They didn't see the yellow lights that are on around the speedway, and you can see the incident here on our replay of what happened. And several drivers involved with that. Now we're back to live action as they're picking up some stuff out of the first turn, and there you see the field of cars coming through turn 4 following the pace car at this point.
5 laps down.
So 5 down, 45 to go here in the Budweiser 50 at Riverside Speedway on Adelphia Cable. There you see Owen Wimble, the technical inspector, weekly at Thunder Road down there to help realign the cars. Owen Wimble, a very familiar face at Riverside Speedway as he was a competitor over here for many years in the number 18, known as Goin' Owen. Owen Wimble doing a fine job with these Parchtown late model Sportsman drivers as far as the tech inspections go. Dick Willett is our race director this weekend. Kevin LePage very slowly around the speedway.
Of course, the Goodrich Tour driver, a little back in the pack right now, but he should have a good performance later on this evening.
Well,
there's a lot of racing to go here. 45 laps remaining in the Budweiser 50.
Absolutely correct. There is a lot of racing to go. As I was going to say, Dick Willett is our race director this evening. And Dick Willett also always does a fine job. We like to see Dick on the flag stand every so often. Dick's always fun to watch when he's down on the flag stand.
There you see behind the 02 of LePage, the number 1 of Red Mead.
Wally Watson comes back on the speedway in the number 57. Watson in the McDonald's machine, one of the Riverside Speedway drivers. Tom Tiller set to come out of the pits as well in the number 77. So Tiller was collected in that incident.
And the 50 will be returning as well behind the 77.
So that's George Stone who will come back. And Stone was running right up there in the top 5 or 6.
Bill Scott, the 14 in second. Brian Hoare up to 3rd now. 4th to 0.
We see our leaders come down the front straightaway.
6th to 25 of Dave Lincoln. 7th is Steve Miller. Doug Hall, the point leader is 8th. 9th to number
Well, you see the cars as they're still getting the realignment going here.
11th is Silly and Garrison. 12th, Silly and Garrison.
So the field's still underway. The field going around the track here at Riverside Speedway. Great facility and great racing here to come. The ACT Late Model Sportsman Sponsored by Parchtown. There you see the 0-0 of Miller. A great performance earlier by Miller in one of the heats. Miller, a strong competitor in the main event action.
Miller is the defending Airborne Raceway track champion. And Miller always doing a good job, and as we said, he won the Castle Chemicals Best Appearing Car Award this evening.
Everyone remains on the lead lap except for the 03 Dan Bridges.
We understand Dan Bridges is down 1 lap because he did go to the garage area. And Dan Bridges is back in the 03, Gary. So apparently it was not a major malfunction on the number 03 Clem Despo machine.
They got the car back out here, and he'll have to make his way back into the field, but at least the car's about out here and running before a lap goes down.
Danny Bridges is currently 19th in the points this season. He had a 31st finish at Airborne and a 3rd at Senair, and he did not go to the event over at the Beach Ridge Motor Speedway. So he's trying to make his way up in the points. Bridges last season, he was 13th in the final points. Lance Fernald holds the lead in the number 31. He's currently 16th in the points after a 29th at Airborne, a 15th at Senair, and an 11th at Beach Ridge. As they're doubling them, getting a double file now. Next time by, they're going to be given a 1 lap to go, and the lights will go down on the pace car.
See pace car leading around for one last time. Cars crossed over.
It's the Budweiser 50 at Riverside Speedway coming to you on Adelphia Cable. We have more great stock car racing action coming to you on Adelphia Cable this season, as we'll be back here at the Riverside Speedway to present the Pro 4 Modifieds. 4-cylinder ground-pounding machines, and they are exciting, especially on a high-main quarter-mile oval. Also, we'll be seeing the Coca-Cola Classic Flying Tigers in action at Riverside Speedway coming up later this season on Adelphia Cable. Getting set to go back to green flag racing, 5 down, 45 to go, the Budweiser 50. Here we go, and we're underway.
Lance Fernald makes the jump on the lead in car number 41. Phil Scott, the 14, followed by Ryan Horn, the 45, top 3 finishers.
And it's the number 3 of Don Kennison, the Riverside Speedway driver, and right Dragon into 0. The 0-0 is Steve Miller. Miller takes the spot from Dragon. John Palsier goes to the garage area in the number 32.
We also have a car in the infield area right now.
Lanfear having problems in that 49 as you see him down in the infield. 31, Lance Fernald holds the lead. Phil Scott runs in second. 3rd spot, Brian Horn. 4th spot is Kennison. 5th is Miller. 6th is Dragon. 7th is Mitchell. 8th is Whitcomb. 9th is Demers. And 10th is Silly.
And the 49 pulls it into the infield here, and looks like he's going to stop the car.
Could be a terminal problem on the number 49 of Mark Lanfear. Lanfear was currently 21st in the points after a 23rd in Airborne and a 24th in Senair. Challenge for second is Brian Hoare on the inside of Phil Scott, and he takes the 2nd spot from Phil Scott, so then Bomar goes to 2nd. Brian Hoare has already made up some points on his father in the 7th feature held earlier this evening. Now he's trying to make up even more points as Brian Hoare currently runs in the 2nd spot. And Doug Hoare is unofficially in the 11th, and we have a yellow.
I believe the caution may be for the 49 car of Lanfear.
Dan Bridges actually off from turn number 2 in the backstretch, just entering the backstretch. Bridges was off, and so they bring the yellow out with 11 laps down and 39 to go here at Riverside Speedway. This event being brought to you by Budweiser and their local distributor, White Mountain Distributors of Berlin, New Hampshire. And of course, they're a big sponsor here at Riverside Speedway.
So Furno continues to dominate the field here thus far with 11 laps down, but a great performance here coming up to second position to Brian Hoare in car number 45, the Dodge.
It's always interesting when you see a Dodge running up near the front, and those Dodges will run at the front as well. They're very capable of that. Phil Scott in the number 14 as he goes by our camera location. He's back in the third position at this point in the Ford product.
So we have a Chevrolet in the 31 of Furno leading the race.
A Chevrolet, a Dodge, and a Ford. A pretty good mix of cars we got out here. 11 down, 39 to go. Coming back on the track, the number 57 of Wally Watson as he made another pit stop. Furno and Hoare, the top two. Then it's Phil Scott and Kennison.
A good performance by a local driver, Kennison, there in the 3.
John Kennison doing very well. And, you know, we kind of wondered how the local drivers would be doing in this event. Billy Mitchell is running in the 7th spot, another local driver from here at Riverside.
Quite a mix. You have the Riverside drivers up in the front of the pack, then you have Wally Watson, another local, right way in the back of the pack.
And also we have to, we should let you know that Sean Paul Sear has come back onto the track.
Along with the 03.
And we understand the 35 of Dean Gallison may be smoking. And the number 1 of Red Mead has gone to the garage area. So a bad break for the GW Tatro Construction Ford Thunderbird of Red Mead. And here he comes back from the garage area. He's back on the track.
So Red Mead apparently solving whatever problem he had with the car, and he's back out on the field.
There you see Boss Hog Red Mead as he catches up to the end of the field. And the pace car will come down, and they're going to be given next time by. They will go racing.
So 11 laps down, 39 laps remaining in the Budweiser 50 here at Riverside Speedway in Groveton, New Hampshire.
Nice little town, Groveton, New Hampshire. Enjoyed being here this afternoon, checking out the town, seeing the nice covered bridge they've got. It's definitely a mill town, as I said up in my opening. We're set for the restart. Furno and Brian Hoare on the front row. Here they come looking for green. Green flag is out and we're racing. Phil Scott was trying to make the challenge. He does make the challenge. And Brent Flaggen is way off the pace. He gets way out high. Now gets it back underway, the number 0, but he has lost a lot of position.
Battle for second. Phil Scott, the 14, takes over from Brian Hoare, the 45. On the backstretch now, 45, Brian Hoare trying to make that position back on the track. But Furno continues to lead in car number 31.
Lance Furno holds the lead in the 31. It's a 4-car length advantage over Phil Scott in the 14. Third spot is the 45 of Brian Hoare. In the 4th position is the 00 Steve Miller, and 5th is the 33 of Billy Mitchell.
And Stone and Norm Andrews connected with each other in turn number 1.
We may have another yellow flag coming out as Danny Bridges has moved it in turn number 2. Bridges pulls the yellow, he now pulls it into the infield.
Caution on the speedway at lap number 14.
So Bridges gets the 03 back underway. Bridges has just had problems all night long.
Hard luck falling on Bridges tonight here at Riverside.
Veteran of many racing events throughout the years. He was racing back in, I believe, the 60s, along with Tom Tiller in the 77. So we have 36 laps remaining in this event as the infield crew goes running over to turn number 2. And we're going to take a break here at Riverside Speedway where the leader is Lance Furno.
Why get champion spark plugs from Partstown? Imagine you're on a dark and lonely road at midnight in a blizzard and your car won't start, then the dam breaks. Help is at Partstown, where you can get the only plug that offers guaranteed performance at a special low price.
I'll just spend winter in a warm place.
You're in a desert, miles from
Okay,
water.
I'll buy Champions.
Nothing sparks like a champion from Partstown with 13 convenient locations.
Welcome back to the Riverside Speedway, where Lance Furno and Phil Scott are at the front of the field with 14 out of 50 laps complete in the Budweiser 50 out of Delphia Cable. Scott Verbulcombe with Gary Langevin getting set to go racing once again, and we have seen quite a few caution flags, I gotta say. 3 already here in the first 14 laps.
Real competitive first 14 laps of racing, and the next 36 should be real interesting. A lot of the top competitors in the beginning to the middle of the field, and they're all going to look to go to the front here very shortly.
Lance Furno, is coming hot off a win, and here they come. Green coming out. Furno hot off a win, and Airborne Raceway enters this event, and Furno maintains the lead. Coming up to the second spot, it's Brian Hoare on the inside of Phil Scott. A great battle with Phil Scott. Dodge on the inside, Ford on the outside. Lance Furno continuing to hold that lead. Now here's Billy Mitchell to the inside of Phil Scott. It's Mitchell on the inside for the third position. So the local driver getting right in there, Gary, and doing quite well.
The local driver's a little more familiar with the track, and they're proving to be real competitive and having real strong performances now. The 33 in third position, followed by Brian Hoare in the 45 and the 31 of Lance Furno.
Billy Mitchell is one of the hot drivers here at the Riverside Speedway. He was won many late model Sportsman events here at Riverside, and it's not a real surprise seeing how well he's running. Hoare looked down to the inside of Furno that time in turn 2, and Furno shut the door on him in the 31.
Further back in the field right now, the 16 of Jim Silly and the 02 of Kevin LePage battling for position.
Silly on the inside, LePage on the outside. There you see the leaders though. It's Furno, your leader. Hoare looks down low once again, no room down there. Lance Furno in the 31 continues to lead the event. Brian Hoare runs in the second spot. Third position is Billy Mitchell. Top 3 cars under a blanket as they come through turn number 4. We look back through the field. Phil Scott holding off the challenge of Steve Miller, along with the number 3 of Don Kennison and the 46 of Doug Hoare, the point leader. Miller gets into the back of Phil Scott. He almost goes around. He saves it.
Scott and Miller connected with each other. Kennison falling off the pace in the 3. Doug Hoare in the 46 passes Kennison on the outside.
Tremendous competition here at Riverside in the Budweiser 50 for the International Series. That's Phil Scott maintaining the 4th position on the track. Steve Miller runs in 5th. Doug Hoare is in 6th. He's the point leader. Don Kennison outside of Hoare. Back to our leaders. It's the 31 of Lance Furno, your leader. Brian Hoare runs in 2nd. Billy Mitchell goes in the 3rd spot. Brian Hoare looked up high that time. It's 25 down. It's the leader is Furno. Then it's Brian Hoare, Billy Mitchell, Phil Scott, Steve Miller, Doug Hoare, the 02 of Randy Potter, the 3 of Don Kennison, the 81. So it's Dennis DeMars, the 68 Jim Silly, the 2 Norm Andrews, and the 02 of Kevin LePage.
So your top 3 drivers getting a decided advantage over the rest of the field here as 27 laps are complete at Riverside Speedway.
Well, a lot of that advantage has to go back to the fact of right now you're seeing it on our screen where it was Miller getting into the rear end and collecting the number 14 of Phil Scott from Morrisville. That gave the top 3 drivers the advantage.
Up until that point, Scott in the 14 was having a tremendous run here today. Now you see Doug Hoare in the 46 looking to gain his advantage.
Phil Scott maintains the 4th spot. And there's your top 3 once again, as it's Lance Furno, Brian Hoare and Billy Mitchell. Miller goes for the fourth spot. He's down low on the inside of Phil Scott, and he takes the fourth spot from Scott. Scott tries back to fifth. It's Doug Hoare in sixth. So Steve Miller finally saw the opening, and he took control to take the fourth position. Back to your leaders once again. Lance Furno looks to be on his way, possibly to his second consecutive victory this weekend, as he won at Airborne Raceway. Now he wants to win his first ever International Series event here at Riverside Speedway. Lance Furno, the 31, the Pump and Pantry, Booyah and Corville. Arlington Wood Products Chevrolet Lumina has a 2-car length advantage over Brian Hoare. They're going to put a lap on the great racing veteran Tom Tiller in the 77. Top 3 drivers get by Tom Tiller to put Tiller down a lap. 34 laps are in the record books at this time.
Tom Tiller currently 7th in the point race. Too bad to see him go a lap down.
Unfortunate, but he was involved in that multi-car incident on the front straightaway. Here you see the challenge for the 5th spot. Doug Hoare wants to get by Phil Scott. He does not want his son Brian getting too many points up on him. He's already lost some points to Brian Hoare in the semi-feature held earlier tonight. Sunday Night Thunder is what we've got here at Riverside Speedway with the Bardstown Late Model Sportsman International Series in competition. Now a challenge to Doug Hoare on the outside is the 0-2 of Randy Potter, one of the local drivers. Potter still out on the outside. Hoare looked like he got into Scott momentarily. Potter comes on the outside and will take the 6th position from Doug Hoare. Now he looks for 5th on Phil Scott. We're coming up with 10 laps to go.
10 to go for Lance Furno.
As Furno puts the laps on number 20. That is Beaver Jardine. Now he looks to put the lap on the 35 of Dean Gallison.
40 laps complete, 10 laps remaining in the Budweiser 50. And Lance Furno from the get-go has been a tremendous competitor and has not relinquished that lead yet.
Furno, a tremendous run. Unbelievable, this kid out of Williamstown doing so well.
Brian Hoare looks to be his only competition for 45 as he comes up in second position, followed by the 33, a local driver here at the track at Riverside.
Billy Mitchell doing very well, considering he's never run against most of these competitors. Well, actually he did. He ran in Sonera in the International Series event, but a very good run for the 33 of Billy Mitchell.
7 laps to go for Lance Furno.
Jim Silly has gotten by the number 14 of Phil Scott. Silly making his way up through the field now. In the Times Argus, number 68, Silly from Groveton. An excellent run for the Groveton competitor. There's Phil Scott in the 14 and Doug Hoare, the point leader, in the number 46, the Goss Dodge Aries. Great racing action as now we go back to the leaders. With 5 laps remaining, it's Lance Furno in the lead. Brian Hoare is second. Billy Mitchell looks to the inside of Brian Hoare. Can he make the move? They come up on the left.
And we have a car spinning into turn number 2.
Yellow flag comes out as Storm
Andrews in the car number 2 spins it.
So Storm Norman Andrews slows things down with 4 laps remaining.
This will be the move for Brian Hoare in the 45. A caution flag going to bring the cars close together with 4 laps to go. It'll be a shootout here for the checkers.
So Norm Andrews, a former Vermont champion, sits down on the inside of turn number 2. And unfortunate turn of events for Storm Norman.
Andrews currently 22nd in the points. He finished 8th in 1992. He had a 13th finish at Sonora and a 34th finish at Airborne, so he's had a rough season.
And he didn't make the trip over to Beech Ridge Motor Speedway back in July. So Norm Andrews, the push truck will come out to attend to Storm and Norman
The Andrews racing car in the Buick gets a push here from the tow truck. And it looks like the day is over for Norm Andrews.
Unfortunate. Well, actually, Norm has gotten the car going. His window net is down, so I think he's going to take it right to the garage area.
With 4 laps to go, 46 complete. Lance Furno from Flags has led it all the way, but now the stiffest competition is here with Brian Horn, the 45, up neck to neck with him when they cross these cars over.
Well, they're holding the 17, who was the lapped car, and I wonder if Furno hadn't put the lap on him, so the 17 may be going to the rear of the field because he had not been lapped before the yellow flag had come out. Actually, they've now posted 45 laps have been complete, so we will have a 5-lap dash for the cash here at Riverside Speedway on this beautiful Sunday evening. It's Sunday night thunder on Adelphia Cable. Glad to be bringing this event to you. And I'd like to thank everyone at Riverside Speedway and the American Canadian Tour for making this event possible to bring it to you on Adelphia Cable Sports this year. And this is how they're going to do it with a double file restart. It'll be Furno on the inside, Hoare on the outside, and then Billy Mitchell. And that's going to be tough for young Brian Hoare. And I'm wondering, is the 1 of red meat a lap down, Gary?
I believe the 1 is a lap down.
Okay, so we have the 1 and the 35. They will both be laps down, as well as the 20, Beaver Jardine, who is in the line.
I believe in the 4th position is the 00 of Steve Miller.
He'll be followed by the 02 of Randy Potter, the 68 of Jim Silly, the 14 of Phil Scott, the 46 of Doug Hoare, the 77. That's Tom Tiller, who is down a lap. Then the next car on the lead lap is Don Kennison in the 3, the 81 of Dennis Demers, the 0 of Brent Dragon, 57, I'm not sure. That's Wally Watson. He's been to the pit several times. He may or may not be down a lap. 25, the defending International Series champion Dave Whitcomb will also be in there, as well as the 02 of Kevin LePage, the 32 of Jean-Paul Cyr, who I believe is 1 lap down. And then we have the 17 on the rear, that's Steve Patnone.
We have 1 to go for Green Lap Racing here, and 5 laps to go in the Budweiser 50 on Adelphia Cable.
So, caution lights will go off on the pace car. We're set to go. Furno and Hoare, the front row. Mitchell goes 3rd, then the lap cars of Meade, Gallison, and Jardine. Then it's back to Miller and Potter. Here they come. Who gets the jump on the green?
Brian Hoare with the jump at the green flag. Brian Hoare here's the lead in the car, number 45. The 31 of Lance Furno takes it over on the backstretch.
Furno comes back on the backstretch.
Hoare's off the pace.
Hoare went way outside.
And all the cars, the 14 of Scott Tangles here.
I don't know what happened there. Everybody slowed down.
There was no caution on the field, and everyone was slowed down. The caution came after they all slowed. The Phil Scott tangled a little bit, but
I'm going to try to get word from our director, Gary. We understand, Gary, that the flagman did not turn off the yellow caution lights.
All right, so we thought the field was under. We saw the flagman wave the green, but the drivers never knew the track was under green flag racing.
Other than they saw the green flag come out, but the yellow lights, you follow what the lights do on the track. That's what you're always told in the pit meeting.
As I look at the score clock right now, it says 45 laps down, so we still have 5 laps remaining. So Brian Hoare's attempt at taking over the lead, all for naught, as Lance Furno will inherit the lead in the 31 Pump and Pantry automobile out of Williamstown, Vermont, the 31 car.
Well, the big loser out of this entire situation was Phil Scott in the 14. Did he get any damage to the Powers DuBois Construction Subway Ford Thunderbird out of Morrisville? That's the big question, because he got collected up there in turn 4.
He did tangle in turn 4, and you know, earlier on today, if you would have asked me to pick a winner, Phil Scott was having an outstanding run this afternoon.
Phil Scott gets to move back up to his position. You know, no problem with that. 45 laps down. And there's, you see the 14 of Phil Scott from Morrisville as he moves back to his spot.
He'll be followed by the 46 of Doug Hoare and the 0 of Brent Dragon.
So now they'll bring them down again and cross them over.
Great action in the Budweiser 50 here at Riverside Speedway in Groveton, New Hampshire. And there you see the car number 81. Is the Travis Demers automobile.
Actually, it's Dennis Demers. Dennis runs both cars, actually, and there is damage on the 81 car. How is that going to affect him and his handling? Has the handling been knocked out for these final 5 laps? So we'll have to see how it all shakes out here in the final 5.
So a 5-lap shootout for a $5,000 purse.
Budweiser 50 for the Parkstown Late Model Sportsman International Series, sanctioned by the American Canadian Tour. And quite an event we're seeing here, quite a turn of events. The green flag came out, but the green light never came on.
So a few technical difficulties here at the track, and we're going to go back under action as soon as they cross these cars over.
Actually, Gary, I think what happens is, as they do with most tracks, they turn the yellow light off when they're given the 1 to go signal, and the flagman just didn't flip the green on, and I think that's what happened here. So, yeah, those things happen. You know,
I really don't think it'll take away from the racing at all. The racing still has 5 laps to go, and these drivers are ready to go.
And we're still going to see the great 5-lap dash for the cash, a shootout. And it's still 31 Furno, 45 Hoare, and 33 Mitchell set to battle it out over the final 5 laps. And can Steve Miller in the 00 and the 02 of Randy Potter get in there? Let's see what happens. There's 5 to go, and we're coming down for green.
And this time, will we see the green lights go on and the green flag fly? 1 to go, says our flagman, Dick Ouellette.
Well, Dick Ouellette in race control said, no, don't give them the green to Pete Marshall, because Furno and Hoare and Mitchell just left the field sitting back there.
So our top 3 drivers trying to jump the gun here, and it looks like we'll go green this time by.
Well, there's a lot on the line in this event. Here they come. Green flag is out. That was a slow start, man.
And Brian Hoare, the 45, as we go into turn number 2, takes over the lead from Lance Furno in the 31. 33 of Mitchell in 3rd position. 31 of Lance Furno takes it over. And the 45 of Hoare in 2nd position.
Mitchell coming in, trying to take the 2nd spot from the 45 of Brian Hoare. Hoare stays up on the outside. It's Furno down low. Mitchell going for 2nd once again. They're through the 3rd and 4th turn. They're coming down for 3 to go.
3 laps for Lance Furno. And a big spin in turn number 3. We've collected some cars up here.
Beaver Jardine is one of the cars involved, along with the 17, and that is Steve Patnode.
And the caution flies. 47 laps complete. 3 laps remaining for $5,000 in the Budweiser 50 at Riverside Speedway.
What an event we're seeing here on Adelphia Cable as part of our auto racing coverage for 1993. And I believe Billy Mitchell is going to be moved back into the 3rd spot, because on the last completed lap, I believe it was 45, Brian Hoare was running in 2nd. But I may be incorrect. We'll have to wait and see what the officials rule on this.
Scott, one of the greatest and most competitive international races thus far in the season.
Well, I've seen all 3 previous ones, and I have to agree with that. And no, Mitchell will stay in the 2nd spot.
So the local driver, Mitchell, in the 33, inherits the 2nd position. Brian Hoare will lead him in 3rd position, and a lap car of Red Mead in 4th.
Well, they came down. They came down side by side, Mitchell and Hoare, for the 2nd spot when they came across the line. And Mitchell was the one that was technically the 2nd place car. So it's Lance Furno, Billy Mitchell, and Brian Hoare. Can Mitchell make it by on the outside? That's the big question now with all his previous experience. Or does Lance Furno have the car underneath him to hold off Mitchell over these final 3 laps? And don't count out Brian Hoare in the 3rd spot.
I think Brian Hoare is the car to watch. Of course, the local fans, their favorite will be Billy Mitchell. And they're putting Mitchell back, and they're putting Hoare in the 2nd position.
Okay, so a recheck of the scorecard showed that Brian Hoare was in the 2nd spot when they completed the 47th lap. So it'll be Furno, Hoare, and Mitchell. Then the lap car of Red Mead. Then, let's throw into the mix here Steve Miller, who's moved up as well.
Steve Miller's collected some wins at Thunder Road this season, along with Airborne International Raceway, and he should be a top competitor. You can never turn your head away from Steve Miller.
And Dean Gallison moving past Steve Miller. So now that moves Miller back in the pack a little bit, and he also has back there with him Randy Potter in the 02, who we are showing on the lead lap, along with the 68 of Jim Silly. The 46 of the point leader, Doug Hoare, is back there. And then we have the number 3 of Don Kennison from right here in Groveton, the 25 of Dave Wickham, the 14 of Phil Scott, and the 02 of Kevin LePage.
Horst LePage, the GM Tour driver, and he has not really found that much track positioning this evening.
No, he hasn't. LePage, you're used to seeing running in a Ford product. He's in an Oldsmobile for late model Sportsman competition. And we're getting set to go for these final 3. They're telling them cross them over. And they will go green next time by. We're getting set
for 3 laps remaining next time by. Green flag action. The Budweiser 50 drawing to a close here in Groveton, New Hampshire at Riverside Speedway. But it's been a great race thus far.
Super race. Here comes the top 3 cars. They're jumping on it again. Are they going to give them the green this time? Yes, they do.
Brian Hoare takes the lead in the green flag.
Brian Hoare gets the jump. Furno back on the inside. Furno takes the lead back. Here's Billy
Brian
Mitchell.
Hoare's high. And a lap car number 20. And Brian Hoare gets collected lap cars. Steve Miller goes by Hoare to inherit 3rd position. Billy Mitchell in the 33. Lance Furno in the 31 with 2 laps to go.
Here comes Lance Furno. Wait, the yellow flag. Yellow flag.
And Furno spins, and he hits the wall.
And Furno into the wall on the yellow flag. He got tagged by Mitchell as they came down the straightaway. Yellow flag came out. I believe it's Doug Hoare to the far side. Unfortunate turn of events for the young driver from Williamstown, Vermont, Lance Furno. He is out, and he is one upset young man, and he has a right to be upset on that situation.
Lance Furno led the majority of every lap here thus far, 48 down. I would say he led at least 46 of those laps, and now he's out of the race.
And I think Furno may have a few words for Billy Mitchell, the local driver, and he is not a happy camper.
This crowd seems to be happy about Billy Mitchell, but of course he is the local favorite. However, it did appear that he touched Furno, causing him to hit the wall. And Furno having a little discussion there on the way by.
Well, that wasn't the initial yellow flag. The initial yellow flag came out for, I believe it was Doug Hoare off turn number 2 with another car.
So points leader Doug Hoare got into a little trouble there. Brian Hoare goes back into the 4th position, I believe.
He's either going to be 4th or he may be the leader or 2nd. I'm not sure, depending where they place him on the restart.
So 2 laps for $5,000. Unfortunate series of events here for Lance Furno, who had just an outstanding performance this afternoon and this evening.
Well, they put the Furno machine on the hook, and why we have this chance with 2 laps to go, we'll be back with more on Adelphia Cable after this.
Pushing it to the limit. Professional drivers demand performance for themselves, the track, and from their cars. That's why so many pros use Gabriel gas shocks, precision engineered to get a better grip on the road. Your local Partstown store wants you to come in and pick up a set of high-performance Gabriel gas rider shocks for your car. Gabriel shocks reduce bottoming to help improve your car's handling and responsiveness. Whatever the road hands out, you don't have to worry when you're running Gabriels. Partstown, 13 convenient locations for you and your car.
Welcome back to Riverside Speedway, a major turn of events, Gary. First off, Billy Mitchell was put to the rear of the field for putting Furno into the wall. And the second thing, Brian Hoare is now the leader.
As I alluded to before we went to break, I felt that Mitchell had tapped Lance Furno, and apparently the officials here put Mitchell to the back for rough riding. Billy Mitchell, the local favorite here at Riverside Speedway, goes to the back, and he is one unhappy camper.
I don't know if he's the local favorite, actually. People were cheering that he's in the rear.
It was a mixed reaction, to say the least.
Okay, 2 laps to go. Brian Hoare has been put back in the lead, or moved up to the lead, I guess we'll say. He's the, if the other 2 hadn't been ahead of him, he would have been the leader, okay?
So Brian Hoare looking to pick up his second International Series win and be the first repeat winner in the International Series.
Well, we said it. Will it be a 4th face in victory lane? Steve Miller has a shot at it. Or will it be a repeat? And it could be Brian Hoare from Colchester, Vermont in the Dodge product. We'll see what happens. The first car behind the pace car is the lapped car of Boss Hog Red Mead. Mitchell has stopped once again to talk to Owen Wimble, who has told him that he will be on the rear.
So Mitchell apparently unhappy, and of course he would be, being that he thought he was the leader in this race. So our local driver, Brian Hoare from Colchester, Vermont, takes home the first position as we go down for 2 laps of racing, $5,000 purse, 2 laps to go, 48 down in the Budweiser 50 here at Riverside Speedway.
Well, the Partstown Late Model Sportsman International Series putting on a tremendous show here, along with these local drivers that have qualified. Billy Mitchell did run good. I've got to say that he's run very good throughout this entire event, and that was a situation where he put the leader out, and he's going out of it. You know, he's going to the rear.
Well, it's just a sign of how competitive the local drivers make this series, and it just makes for a lot better racing for the drivers and for the fans who come to witness these great events.
Well, Boss Hog Red Mead goes to the inside of the first row. That will give Hoare the advantage because that puts blocks Steve Miller in the second spot in the 0-0. He is actually 3rd on the grid. It's Hoare who is 2nd on the grid, leader of the race.
So it comes down to Brian Hoare, Steve Miller, or the local driver in the 0-2.
And that's Randy Potter from Groveton, New Hampshire. And we just received word that Furno is out for the night. Unfortunate, he's led 48 laps, led from the pole. He did great in the qualifying. He won the semi-feature, and that's a real tragedy for Lance.
Furno was running 16th in the point race.
And also, by the way, we should point out Doug Hoare has also gone to the garage area as well. He was involved in the initial reason the caution flag came out.
And he is our points leader in the International Series.
So his son Brian has a chance to make up a lot of points on him. Here they come. Red Mead is the lap car.
Green flag flies.
And Brian Hoare is your leader. Steve Miller trying to dispose of those lap cars very, very quickly. Here they come for the white flag. Brian Hoare the leader. They stack them 3 wide as they come down the front straightaway. Brian Hoare looks to make it the first repeat winner of 1993 ACT International Series. Here he comes through turn number 4. Your winner is Brian Hoare from Colchester. Steve Miller second, Randy Potter is third, Dave Wickham is 4th, and Jim Silly finishes up in 5th. So it's the 45 of Brian Hoare picking up the win. The 0-0 of Steve Miller finished in 2nd, and the 0-2 of Randy Potter from right here to New Hampshire finished in the 3rd spot, and a whale of a finish with only 5 laps remaining. We thought it was a 5-lap shootout, then it became a 3-lap shootout, then a 2-lap shootout, and finally It's finally over, and Brian Hoare, the winner, and he picks up the checkered flag, and that's one very happy young man.
Tremendous run for, and we have an Alan Kowicki lap here.
The Polish victory lap. He did this at the Santa Ana Super Speedway earlier this year, and he's doing it once again. Brian Hoare, the 45, picks up the victory.
So Brian Hoare here in a tribute to our fallen heroes, that being Alan Kowicki in the 7, and the 28, of course, being Davey Allison.
So Brian Hoare will return the checkered flag to victory lane. Your winner of the Budweiser 50 International Series event at Riverside Speedway, the number 45 from Colchester, Vermont, the Goss Dodge Aries of Brian Hoare. We'll have more on Adelphia Cable after this.